How do you know if you're really in love? Is it love or is it just a game? Is it love? Or is it just a dream? Is it love or is it a passing phase? If only someone would do a scientific study so we can have a look at it and analyze the criteria correctly under the cold, judgmental lens of science. Well, yes, Teresa E. Di Donato, PhD, has done exactly that. Here are some of the criteria we can examine. Are you suddenly doing new things? That's interesting. Let me think about the times when I've been in the giddy euphoria of love, like you sort of want to pursue new interests. Let's go and do some pottery. I did some pottery quite recently, and my wife and I are some distance into a marriage, 2 children deep into it. We still found time to go and make some pots. I've got to collect those ceramics actually. So yes, I can see that it's sort of fizzing and giddy with new chemical influence, that you're right up for bolting about in a zoo or climbing a mountain or singing in the street with your hands on your hips. So yeah, are you doing that? Have you been especially stressed? Oh my God, this sounds like a very difficult way to live, doing a load of things, new things at that, while stressed. Evidence links the experience of falling in love with higher stress levels experienced as a result of excessive cortisol. If you're anxious, tense, or just jittery, it might be a normal response to the strain of repeated social encounters with someone whose impression matters deeply to you. Sounds like an anxiety attack. Sounds like a disorder. I don't know if that's the kind of love that we should be pursuing. I mean, these to me seem like endorsements of the chivalric idea of love that prevailed, in sort of Arthurian mythology. For me, that's the mistaken belief that the beloved can somehow stand for the divine. I would see conceptualizations of the divine that are more pantheistic, as more positive, as opposed to a sort of a kind of endowing some human being with qualities of love. See love everywhere, see God everywhere. How intense your emotions. People high in attachment anxiety that question their own self-worth in relationships. Oh God, that's terrible, isn't it? When you're doing that, we don't feel good enough in a relationship. Tend to experience a high degree of passion when romance is budding. If that's not you, a lack of intense feeling isn't necessarily a sign that you're not in love. We all experience it differently. Well, there you go. So it's very difficult to know. It seems to me the most important question is this final one. Do you fall in love frequently? I used to. I'm always doing it. I had great romantic yearnings, because I still sort of have that. I can get very passionate about people, how beautiful they are, how intoxicating and exciting they are, and having a sort of a more circumspect and distant attitude towards it, and also having the maturity and understanding that no human being is ever going to resolve you or fill you up, in a sense, mitigates those feelings. It moderates those feelings. It tempers them, and necessarily so. Falling in love is a wonderful thing, particularly if you're young and have got no responsibilities. But believe me, you will develop those responsibilities, particularly if you act on that love in ways that are, let's face it, natural, and it's in a kind of heterosexual environment. So I would say that love is something that I feel is better experienced across a lifetime rather than in giddy moments, but I have done that having had my fill of the latter. I would say there's some interesting research here saying that from an evolutionary perspective, women are more likely to be stringent in partner criteria because of the higher risk of potential investment, i.e. becoming pregnant. But it's difficult, I think, sometimes to fuse biology and anthropology with the matters of the heart. For me, it's easier to have a rubric of understanding built upon spiritual ideas. For me, this is, we, on some deep pre-linguistic ancient level, experience reality. Then we filter it and name it and label it, the linguistic spill, and we nominate some things as love and some things as labour. And the way that we nominate and categorise reality, I feel, is difficult to be objective about. If you see love as a kind of energy that means that you're connected to all things and are in a position of service to all things and part of a great flow that transcends your individual identity, your temporary material life, then you're less likely to fall into positions of obsession, vulnerability, and all of the things that can come from love that are quite harmful, particularly listening to this analysis. Do you feel tense? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel too attached? I would say that's all because you have misdiagnosed a sort of a spiritual yearning as an interpersonal one. The real love that we all feel is a almost indiscriminate and total love for all humanity, not only all humanity, all life, not only all life, all phenomena. For love is the yearning to be connected. Love is beyond the yearning, because yearning is a limited experience. It's the realization that you are already one with everything. This little plant, one another, we are already one. It's so hard to conceptualize and categorize that through the many primal filters that we live our life in accordance to, harnessed by, governed by. Easier than to say I'm in love with this person in particular. I love this group of people. I loathe these others. For me, this is a fruitless way of living. And when people talk about great change, it's these matters on an interpersonal level that will necessarily bring about social change, political change, a broader change. So you probably are falling in love if you feel giddy and nauseous the whole time, but it's not likely to lead to anything positive unless you learn to use those feelings in a more benevolent and less particular way, i.e., keep your shit together.